Good morning. Um, my name is Dele Ayemibo, and you're on to another edition of Import Export Platform Facebook Live, brought to you by 3T Impest Trade Academy. Remember, this is a program that educates listeners in various areas of international trade, and we also try to provide solutions to the challenges of trade businesses in Nigeria. Our focus has been on export in recent time, understandably so, because we think exportation will do our nation a lot of good, and it's also an area of trade that many in this country, Nigeria, do not seem to understand well enough. So we started discussing recently export business incentive for Nigerian businesses, and today we'll be looking at part 5, export business incentive for Nigerian businesses, and today we're looking at part 5. Adeshinwa Adewale, good morning. Thank you very much for joining. You're welcome. So we talked about export adjustment scheme yesterday. That's in the evening yesterday. We talked about export adjustment scheme, and we didn't finish. I will round off this morning with the component of that export adjustment scheme. I'll round off with this component this morning. And let me just do a recap for those that probably missed it. I was talking about different incentives. I've talked about AGOA. I've talked about ETLS. AGOA is Africa Growth Opportunity Act. It's a unilateral law of the United States to help Nigerian businesses to be able to ship goods to the U.S. Then I've talked about ETLS, ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme. I've talked about a number of other incentives from Export Development Fund for Service Export to Export Litigation Fund to New Manufacture Inbound Scheme to Export Development Fund. And yesterday evening, we talked about the Export Adjustment Fund, and we stopped at the point where we're talking about the aim of the scheme. This morning, I will talk about the component, then I'll move to the main discussion of today, which is the Export Expansion Grant. For the Export Adjustment Fund, the component to be captured in this scheme include reduction of input from source of supply to the location of processing, rebate on cost of transportation of product from factories to the port, and rebate on the freight charge of product to destination of the export, then subsidizing of the cost of using facilities such as warehouses, cold rooms, and weigh bridges, establishment of common facility centers for exporter use at discounted rates, and other factors affecting processing cost as may be approved by the implementation committee. But if you look at it critically, yesterday we actually defined the essence of that scheme, that the scheme is actually set up by a law, and that law is the Export Incentive and Miscellaneous Provision of 1986, which was amended in 1992, and it was designed to compensate exporters for deficiencies in infrastructure and other factors beyond the control of the exporter, and all that may lead to high cost of exporting. So the aim of the government is to reduce the cost of exportation. So what do? They give rebate on the cost of transportation of input from source of supply to location of processing. They fund also a rebate on the cost of transportation of product from factories to port. They also provide rebate on freight charges of product to destination of export, and also subsidize the cost of using the facilities such as warehousing, cold room, and weigh bridges. Subsidizing it just to be able to ensure that we are very, very competitive. And if government have made this available, I think it's just responsibility of individual citizens to then make effort to be able to access it. Because if it's available and we do not access it, then of course it becomes very, very difficult for us to be able to benefit from it if you don't make effort to access it. Then also the fund is used to establish common facility centers, such as at a discounted rate. Such as cold room and warehouses. Other factors affecting processing costs can be approved by the implementation committee. So this morning, I will be starting the main focus this morning, and the main focus this morning is on the export expansion grant. Export expansion grant. A lot of people are very much aware of the export expansion grant. They are aware because that seems to be the most prominent of all the incentive that government have. Is the most prominent. Is the one that everybody is aware of that government have. I mean, it is the only one that you know that, look, this particular incentive is among what government incentive for export in Nigeria. You know, so this incentive is so important, it's so critical. It's among the incentive of government for export in Nigeria. Is the most prominent one. Is the one that has been. Most of that incentive seems to be on life support. This one is sick but alive. But the other one on life support because if you require funding from government, like AGOA will always be on because no fund is required. HLS will on, no community required. But anything that require government to fund they're all on life support. But I know if people apply for it, many people might not get it, but some will get it. But it's just good we apply for them, especially the one that we don't require government to spend money. Now, but this one, like I said, is sick. Sick in the sense that it's alive. It's not in comatose. But it's not functioning very well because government is not funding it so well. But the interesting thing is that recently it was improved, it was revitalized, it was adjusted just to be able to ensure that the racketing around it is reduced. But more importantly is the fact that the agency that the incentive is used, the agency that need to make the incentive work are not so keen on supporting it. Let me explain. For export expansion grant before now, when I process it and I get the grant, I will need to use it to pay for import duty. NEPC is a government agency. Customs is another government agency that have target. So because they have target and they want to meet their target, they do not allow those grants to be used as the basis for clearing, because the whole idea is for you not to pay duty. You just use the grant to pay duty. So if I'm not an importer, I can sell it to an importer who used to pay duty. And that was a major challenge because customs is not agreeing to be able to use this as people want to use it, because we have a lot of them, but they could not be used because customs is not allowing. So what has happened now, there's been a change such that when I get a grant now, I will not just use it for custom clearing and payment of duty. I can use it for pay a lot of levies that federal government collect. The Export Expansion Grant Scheme was introduced into Nigerian Export Incentive and Miscellaneous Act as amended in 1992. This grant is also a law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Remember, we talked about the Export Development Fund. We talked about the Manufacturer Inbound Scheme. Now we are talking about Export Expansion Grant. Now, what is interesting about all of this is that they are all part of a law called the Incentive and Miscellaneous Provision Act. There's an act of the federal government that gives incentive to businesses, if it depends on the nature of the business you're doing, just to encourage businesses because of how important and vital businesses are to government. Now, the scheme is administered by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, and the scheme was suspended in 2014 to ensure a review and redesign in order to prevent abuse and ensure that the scheme is fit for purpose. So there have been abuse, just like any other opportunities that Nigerians take advantage of. You remember the case of the subsidy saga, where people just take advantage of the fact that government was giving subsidy. So good vessel will arrive in Nigeria, will not discharge, but every document that show it came will be seen. Another document will be fabricated, and they will use it to claim subsidy. And the person will still go and sell it in another country. We're not selling it in Nigeria, so double money. It's amazing. So he can come in and go out and come in and go out and come in and go out and eventually come in to offload. I mean, it's just unfortunate. But that's what happened. So that kind of racket came in under the Export Expansion Grant. And when those rackets came under Expansion Grant, people were fabricating documents and using it to obtain the grant. And the government got to know. So there was different investigation by federal government, by National Assembly. So the ministry have to stop it at a time. Just a different investigation, just to ensure that at the end of the day, the abuse is reduced or prevented completely. But more importantly is to ensure that people are able to access it. Like I said, many people are unable to access it simply because of the dependence on dependence on custom for execution. And that was now revised. So prior to the suspension of the scheme, the incentive was granted in form of negotiable duty credit certificate. That is called NDCC. National Data Development Commission. Negotiable duty certificate, NDCC, utilizable by exporter for payment of import and excise duties. The NDCC has now been replaced with the Export Credit Certificate, ECC. So before it was called NDCC, Negotiable Duty Credit Certificate, because it's negotiable in the sense that you can sell it to someone who can then resell it again. But more importantly is the fact that you use it to pay duty. That's what you call Negotiable Duty Credit Certificate. But now, you don't use it to pay duty. You use it to pay any fees or program that require payment to government. And that's the Export Credit Certificate. So the Export Expansion Grant Scheme now has been revitalized, has been reviewed, has been renewed. And instead of the initial NDCC, now is ECC, Export Credit Certificate. The revised guidelines were released January 1, 2017 to facilitate implementation, a budgetary provision of 20 billion was made in the budget for settlement of grant. So government made provision in the budget such that at the end of the day, when it is used, this fund available for government will use to cover for that loss. And that was the issue custom have also. Because there should be fund that should be made available that when custom allow that to happen, then there can be settlement. So, but there was no provision for that settlement. And that was a challenge for people. Now, highlight of the revised guideline on exports are divided into 4th category with maximum applicable EEG as stated below. So now there are 4th category of people who can access the grant. 4 categories of people who can access the grant. Number 1 category is people that manufacture people that export fully manufactured product. If you export fully manufactured product, then you can be part of this. People that export fully manufactured product. Number 2, people that export semi manufactured product. Olugbenga Ijima Kinwa, good morning. Thank you, are welcome. People that export processed and intermediate product. People that export processed and intermediate product. And people that export merchant or primary agricultural commodity. People that export merchant or primary agricultural commodity. All these people are people that are that will be able to access the expansion grant. So it's either you're exporting manufactured goods or exporting semi-processed or manufactured product, or you're exporting processed or intermediate product, or you're exporting primary product. So from primary product to intermediate product to semi-manufactured product to the finished product, all of them will enjoy the scheme. But the scheme allow up to a maximum of 30% before. Is it 30 or 25% before? But now they've reduced it. The maximum you can get now is 15%. 15%. 15%, and that is for fully manufactured product. Semi-manufactured product will be 10%. Intermediate product will be 7.5%. Primary product will be 5%. Now, what is fully manufactured product? Fully manufactured product will be clothes, cosmetics, things that was processed into finished product and can be used immediately. Semi-manufactured products are products that can be used the way they are, but they are also raw material for something else, like shea butter. Shea butter can be used the way they are, but they are also raw material for something else. Raw material for something else. Okay, let me give you another example. Raw cashew nut. Raw cashew nut is a primary product. If I remove the cashew nut, I remove it from the shell, it will become a processed intermediate product. Now, if I decide to break it into small units, I've moved it to semi-manufacture, and then by the time I put it inside a confectionaries, or by the time I roast it, it's now fully manufactured. For fully manufactured, it can be used immediately. If it's semi-manufactured, it's used for processing something else. It's not the final product, but there's a level of value addition already done to it. So depending on the nature of the item I'm exporting, that will determine the final use. So if the product I'm exporting is finished, but whoever is buying it will still need to do anything on it to use it, it's semi-manufacture. So pap can be described as semi-manufacture. Because pap cannot be taken directly, someone will still have to do something to it to be able to eventually use it. But for fully manufactured, it can be consumed right away. Consumed right away. So, fully manufactured product, you get 15%. Semi-manufactured product, you get 10%. Intermediate product, you get 7.5%. And primary product, you get 5%. So, primary product, 5%. Intermediate product, 7.5%. Semi-manufactured product, 10%. Fully manufactured product, 15%. And these are, you get 15% of the FOB value. Of the FOB. What's FOB? FOB value is the value of the goods plus profit. FOB is the value of the goods plus profit. Value of the product in question plus profit is FOB. That's free on board. And that free on board figure or price, is the percentage of it that I will need to use to be able to enjoy the expansion grant. Nwanko Ikechukwu, thank you very much for joining. Good morning and welcome. Ronke Odejobi, thank you very much for joining. Good evening. Good morning rather, and welcome. I hope people are going to vote. Voting continues till 2, so I'll be going around 12. So I need to do what I have to do now, then I'll go later in the day. But let's try to exercise our franchise so we can vote into power in our various states, individual that we think will be able to deliver the value that we desire. And we've talked about the fact that states need to begin to really think of export to be self-sufficient. And I talked about that in the last provision. Okay. Proceed of qualifying. Yeah, close the door, please. Close the door. Close it down. Don't make noise. I'm busy doing something. So, someone said I have cashew nut in large quantity. I heard that cashew nut. I heard that cashew nut will have a lot of issues this year because of a number of factors from the buyer's end. If there is anybody on the platform that is in need of cashew nut, Mr. Ifeanyi Nobuigwe say he has cashew nut in large quantity. But I would strongly recommend for Mr. Nobuigwe to actually look for people you can sell to locally and add value. Look for people you can sell to locally and add value, and that's very important. I think we should begin to consider adding value. I am not a fan of commodity export. I think we should add value to it. So I would strongly recommend you think of how you can add value to that product for you to be able to export it. If you can add value to it, maybe you should begin to look for factories that are processing and have an agreement with them to process there. And in processing there, if you don't have money to give them, then negotiate to give them part of the goods. If you give them part of the goods, they will take it and sell it. You also have to sell locally and for export. So if you are not able to get buyer for your raw cashew nut, there are options for you. Right there in, what's the name? In Osun State, in Kogi State, in Kwara State, you have processing plant. Even in Ukrodu, you have processing location. Take it there, negotiate with them. If you don't have money to process, give them part of it. So if I'm processing 100 tons, maybe I'll give you 20 tons. Have a negotiation that is reasonable. And then the one you get at the end of the day, you can then export it. You can even sell locally for those that want to roast it. Or you export it at the end of the day. So that's just a way of giving an idea of what you can do. So at the end of the day, you don't have a situation where you have this product with you and you're not able to use it. Stop your noise now. Sorry, my son is unfortunately I didn't lock the door. So I need to finish this now. I won't be able to stand up. Let me just finish. So sorry for the distraction. Okay, so let's continue on the export expansion grant. Export proceeds of qualifying export transaction must be fully repatriated within 300 days, calculated from export date and approved by federal government. So for you to be eligible for the export expansion grant, you need to have exported goods from Nigeria, and that good you have exported has been well documented. You need to have exported goods from Nigeria, and the good you have exported must be well documented. More importantly is the fact that you must also ensure that the funds came in within 300 days. So within 10 months after shipment, ensure that the fund actually come in. Within 10 months after shipment, ensure that the fund actually come in. If the fund did not come in within 300 days after shipment, then you will not be able to, you will not be eligible to enjoy the benefit. You will not be eligible to enjoy the benefit of this program. If your good did not come out, if your payment rather did not come back after shipment, sorry, I'm just getting a lot of distraction. I just saw a news flash of the electoral material being destroyed in Benue. It's just unfortunate the way our people are going about politics. It's unfortunate, and this is the reason why I said, look. If we don't put plan in place to be able to get people engaged, for people to begin, Benue, for example, is the food basket of Nigeria. Benue can produce so much food for Nigeria and for the world, not just for Nigeria. In Benue and Taraba, I understand there are places there that have not even been cultivated since creation because of because the goods there are lush green, like someone would describe it. And they've been for many ages. Nothing has been done there because they have fertile land, in short, that can be used for cultivation. But unfortunately, just for our people, our leader to take manufacturing, production, and export seriously, so that people can be well engaged. Because if you only concentrate on local, you won't be able to grow the capacity of your factory to hire more people and live out of poverty. The people that are burning electoral material in Benue right now are only doing that because they were engaged by politicians to do that job. But if they are working, they are very comfortable, they won't do that. You won't even get them to do that. Why? Because they're engaged and they have things to do and they be more reasonable and not allow themselves to be used like this. I've registered a business name. Can I export as business name? And can also a business name? Can I access the export grant? You cannot export as a business name. You cannot export as a business name. The law that established the Nigerian Export Promotion Council stipulated that it's only cooperatives, limited liability companies, government agents, and NGO that can export. You cannot export as a business name. So if I enable Igwe, you need to upgrade that company to limited liability company, number one. Not just upgrade it to limited liability company. Number two, you need to ensure that at the end of the day, you get your export certificate. So you register with Nigeria Export Promotion Council. You register with the Nigeria Export Promotion Council to get your export certificate. And with the export certificate or export license, you can then do your documentation for legal export. But you must be limited liability company and you must have export license. I'm sure I've answered the question on Ifeanyi Nobu Igwe. Thank you very much for your question. And if other people have questions, please do not hesitate to ask your question. Do not hesitate to ask your question. So I've talked about, number one, the nature of product that can enjoy the export expansion grant. Number two, I've talked about the fact that your proceed must come back. That means if you export and proceed did not come back, forget about export expansion grant. You must have your proceed repatriated. So Nigeria must have a feel of that foreign exchange. Then exporters are required to present the export expansion plan as requisite for planning, participating in the EEG. So when you want to apply for, it's supposed the export expansion grant. So you are supposed to be expanding your production every year. Can you see how lovely this provision is? Can you see why if you keep expanding your production, then you create more jobs? And that's the whole idea of government. But like I said, if the government is not taking this extremely seriously, then we'll probably not be able to do what we need to do in terms of job creation in this country. The proceed, sorry, the export, so when you're applying for this, you must put there your plan to expand. So when you are coming next year to apply for it again, you need to show, this was my plan last year, this is what I've done on my plan. Because you must be seen. If you are getting this money, you must be seen to be expanding, increasing your capacity year on year. Because it is called the Export Expansion Grant. The export credit certificate can be used to settle all federal government taxes. You can use it to pay VAT. You can use it to pay withholding tax. You can use it to pay company income tax. It can also be used to purchase government bond. You can use it to repay government credit facilities. You can use it to pay government debt due to asset management companies. Export credit certificate is valid for only 2 years and transferable once to final beneficiary. To fund the administration of the scheme, EEG beneficiary are to pay 2% of the value of the credit certificate upon collection of the certificate and 4% cost of collection when utilized. So at the end of the day, whatever you get, you are going to pay 6%. 6% to the government, to the agency rather. The whole idea is to fund that program. I don't know why this is necessary. I mean, I think it's just for sustainability, because when the government gives the budget to be able to fund, to be able to cover for what that certificate is used for, in the relevant government agency like FIRS that will collect that money. Because if FIRS collect this certificate now, they use it to claim from NPC. Eventually, that we get a certificate from your people, so you need to pay us. So government have to make provision available for that to be done. But the whole idea is this. That is like that fund can only be used for that certificate. And in order to make the progress sustainable, I think NPC will have had a budget for the secretariat doing this, but they've incorporated about 6% that you're going to pay back. 2% when you start and 6% when you finish. Do you have any bootcamp mentoring program that is affordable? Affordability is relative. Affordability is relative. We have different training programs. We don't charge for mentorship. We charge for training. And when you do training, you automatically get access to mentorship. So different training program depending. If you are doing finished product, what we recommend is different. If you are not doing finished product, what we recommend is different. So what I would recommend you do is chat me on Facebook Messenger, and let's discuss further. So I can tell you the options available for you to be able to know which one to join. Peace, Chibuke. Thank you very much for joining. So that brought us to the end of the Export Expansion Grant. Remember, so Export Expansion Grant is a provision of a law in Nigeria. It used to be implemented through the issuance of negotiable duty credit certificate. Now is implemented the issuance of export credit certificate. That's number 2. Then number 3 that you need to know about this program is the fact that the program is eligible for people exporting raw materials, intermediate product, semi-manufactured goods, and manufactured goods. The product also is the scheme is also has criteria for eligibility. You must have done your pre and post export documentation. You must submit this your request with your expansion plan. You must also submit your request. You can only be eligible for the request when you have repatriation of export proceed. Repatriation of export proceed. That means when you export, your money came back to Nigeria to bless the Nigerian economy. Thank you very much for joining us again this morning. My name remains Dele Ayimibo, and this is Import Export Platform, Facebook Live from Trinity Trade Academy. We'll see you in the evening by 8 p.m. as we continue the discussion on export business incentive, export intensive for Nigerian businesses. Thank you very much and have a good day. Please remember to go and vote. I will also go and vote by 2. Okay, fine, you have voted. Thank you.